Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video and the final video of the first revamped Tempest Heroes Jubilee Boss Battle 2. Now, this boss fight, very specifically, is a complete and utter bitch to do. Because unlike Boss Battle 1, which didn't really have that many gimmicks going for it, Boss Battle 2 Guy has all of the gimmicks. All of them. The starting hand is 2 blues and 4 greens, so that's quite easy. If you want to bring Isis, she will definitely work here. But Guy, he's a dick. So he nerfs blues, he nerfs oranges, he gives himself magic resistance, he binds people for 2 turns. So that's always great fun, which is actually, it's technically 1 turn. So, but he does bind, and I believe it's on turn 4. Turn 4 is when you get binded, and that, unless you've got some good accessories that are bind dodging earrings with extra enchantments, it's going to be really fun to play around. He gives himself pierce resistance and synergy resistance, so don't bother bringing Momiji or any teams that focus on that. He puts greater burn on people, which doesn't really matter, but he has a 12 hit barrier, which is really terrible because he does it twice. He does a 12-hit barrier twice, which means that if you have the Protectors of Peace meta, you've got the multi-hits, you've got the follow-ups, that barrier means nothing to that team. If you do not have those characters, since he applies it twice, and you can only send a maximum of 6 orbs in a turn, that means 4 turns you are going to be hitting a barrier. Literally half the fight, because it's only 8 turns of fight. And you have to send 6, then you have to send another 6 to break the barrier. And then guess what? The turn after that, he puts the barrier back on. If you can send 6 orbs every single turn, then you will break it just in time for the final nuke turn on turn 8. And that's if you send all 6 orbs. But until you actually break that barrier, you do no damage to him. You get no damage bonus score. If you ult, it does nothing. So if you accidentally send a nuke ult before it's broken, it's literally going to do 0 damage and going to get you 0 score. So the fact that he's got a bind, the fact that he's got a 12 barrier thing twice in the fight, means that people are really, really, really going to not like this fight. But, I built some teams for it, so let's take a look. Alright, so we're going to run pretty much the same exact team as we did for Boss Battle 1 for the meta. We just switched around the units a tiny bit, and we have changed their accessories. We need the bind dodge earrings, and because I have been playing the game for a while, I have all 5 of the characters with bind dodge earrings. So everyone has at least, I think, a 25% chance to dodge. So, I mean, it's still not great, but we do really need at least one of the characters to dodge the bind to really make things run efficiently. If everyone gets binded, things get really, really difficult to maintain, because that's a turn where you can't swap anybody in and you can't use all the optimized skills, and it's just a gigantic fucking headache. Turn 1, it's a blue hand, but because Geld changes whatever color, it doesn't really matter. We're still running the skill points, so we can use both of his skills turn 1. We only have 1 enemy to fight now, so we're really not wanting to push the single target ult from Xion more than anything. But again, that's up to RNG, because we do need the protection gauge traits to kick in from Hinata and Shizu and her support Milim. So it is still just a cat and mouse game of who gets put in, who gets put out, who gets the most orbs. So will the multi-hit, the single orb change, alright, cool. We'll bring Xion in for Shizu because she had the most orbs, and then we'll bring Geld in for Hinata. We'll use the follow-ups, then we'll reset with Masayuki, and then we'll use the Geld skills again. And we just do that over and over and over and over and over again. Until we get to turn 3, which is where his shield goes up. And again, if you don't have a team that has multi-hit follow-up orbs, the shield's going to be a big fucking problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, cool. Hit and a counter. Hit. And then there's the 12-hit shield. So, if you use the multi-hit skill... Okay, I didn't know I reset there. Hold on. Okay, we're back. His shield is on now. We have a much better hand, though. Much, much better hand. But we are also about to get binded on this turn. So turn 3, he puts a shield up, and turn 4, he binds you. So we do need to kind of play thinking ahead in case things don't really work out the WAT well. But also, we still need Xion ults. We need orbs, we need protection gauge, and we, unfortunately, are going to have our primary orb changer in the back line. So if we all 3 get binded, it's kind of a shit hand. And you either send it or you reset. But because the multi-hits, we break the barrier in 4 orbs, because it takes 12 hits, and we do 3, 6, 9, 12. And then the final 2 orbs do actually hit. And now the follow-ups come in, and there's a burn. Okay, cool, whatever. Shizu dodges the bind, which is fairly huge, because she's our alt swapper. Now we can take her out, and we don't have to worry about her orb just not getting converted, because she's not on Protectors of Peace. So that, I think, was a big, big key in getting at least this run's score. I could get a higher score, because I don't think I get 2 EX ults. I think I get Rimuru's and then 2 singles. So I could definitely improve my score, but I just don't like using this team. So Geld skills, orb change, the multi-hit, boom. I actually forget... Actually, no, I don't forget to use. I have to bring her in. I bring in Xion now. Only has 1 orb. I would like to bring her in for for Hinata, but she's binded, so I can't. So this is the best we can do here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now that the bind is over, he only binds 1 turn. So what happens after this is that, I think next turn after this... So we've got 4 turns left. Yeah, at the end of this turn, he puts up another shield. So another 12 hits that you have to contend with, which, if you're running this team, it's not an issue. So let's go ahead and just skip ahead to the nuke now, because obviously it's the same fucking thing every time. Alright. So this is the final hit of turn 7. And now follow-ups, follow-ups, follow-ups. Excellent. Yeah, we have an alt for Xion, an EX alt for Rimuru, and then an alt for... do we actually even have a Hinata alt? Hold on. We'll use the Shizu buff. Boom. Oh, we have an EX alt for Hinata. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. We don't want an EX alt with her. We want it with Xion. But okay, cool, I guess. Like, she hasn't gotten really any of the stacks, pretty much. But buff and buff. Now we use Masayuki to reset. We can use the single orb change, or something around here. We do need to use more points, though, to get us to that 300-point cap to begin with. So yeah, we're not quite there yet. So I think we use an orb change, and then, yeah, the multi-hit. So we're going to have 5 orbs instead of 6, but now we can use the full power buff from Hinata. We'll send Rimuru first, because he has a debuff, and then we'll send everyone last. So Rimuru, 13 million. Hinata, 2.3 million. Xion, 6.5 million. Would have really loved to have an EX alt with Xion there instead of Hinata. But final score of 25 million. It definitely can go higher, but again, I just don't like using this team. Let's move on. Alright, next up, we are again going to use the World of Fantasy team. This time, well, maybe not a little bit, but it's still going to give us the extra damage buff against fire enemies. We do have a single target nuker with Milim, and then Shizu and the hero are going to be a little bit less effective because we're only fighting 1 enemy. We're using skill point units, so we can use both of the Ice's skills turn 1, and we've swapped Fount of Wisdom Rimuru for Tempest Elite Benimaru, who, in a specifically single target setting, Benimaru's buff is better than Rimuru's. 1, it's half the cost, and 2, the combination of buff and debuff from Benimaru out damages a single target hit from the Fount of Wisdom Rimuru. What makes Rimuru better is that he puts that 20% debuff on 3 enemies, while Benimaru only puts the 25% alt resistance down on 1 target. So in an AoE setting, he's only debuffing 1 of them. So if you don't have Benimaru, you can still use Rimuru, he'll work fine. But he's just a little bit better in this specific setup. So starting out, since we're using the skill point units, we can use both the Isis buff and orb change turn 1. We don't have to fuck around with using the 2 single orb changes from Milim and Shizu. And that's 2 skills in the pocket for our crit damage. And now turn 2, it really doesn't matter because we got plenty of points. So this hand looks terrible. We're going to be able to convert it. So skill, 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 blue convert, attack buff, orange convert, 55 points left over. Let's use Benimaru. Let's use his orb change now, and we'll change one of those greens back to blues. And then we'll bring Isis in. We'll use Frey, who will change 3 of those blues, and then we have enough points left over to use the Isis buff to again, or the Isis orb change, to give us another full hand of greens. So we use like 6 skills in that one turn. That's a lot of crit damage just right off the bat. And now we have an ult for her, but we have the shield to contend with. So what do you do in this scenario? Do you send the ults? Do you hold them? It's going to take 2 turns to break this shield because we can only send 6 orbs, and he takes 12 hits. So we're going to just alt swap away and continue to send 6 greens. 6 greens, and that's what we need to do, and there's no other way around it. So we do want to continue to use more skills to get the crit damage, because even though we can't hit him, we are still stacking up with Milim. So the more skills, the better. We're also going to get binded this turn. So the burn kicks in, and Milim dodges the bind, which is huge because she has the EX ult. And I can only ult swap one character, and both her and the hero have it. So I could have RNG'd and been like, okay, well, let's pray. But we don't have to do that. So another orb change for Milim. Boom. We'll bring Shizu in, who also has an ult. And because they're AoEs and they don't do a lot of damage in the single target setting, now we're going to send them. Because I still want to send all 6 orbs, and I still need to get his shield down. But I don't want to alt swap and make it more expensive. So nothing, and 4 more orbs of nothing. But the shield is broken now, so that's a good thing. That gives us 1 turn to do damage to him. So here, I decide to just nuke early, I think, because there's no guarantee that I'm going to have enough orbs to get back up to a Milim EX ult, and I think I tried this team about 5 times, and I never got another EX Milim ult. If I sent it early, I never got it back, and I got tired of trying to fish for it. So we're going to buff here. So I should have used the physical buff from, well, not the physical buff, but the orb damage buff and resistance down debuff from the hero, because we would have had enough points, right? We have 40 here because Benimaru is cheap, and then we're going to use Frey to give us another 40. And so we could have used the hero debuff, and that would have helped our damage out a bit. Slight misplay there. 610,000 is not super great damage for 2024, but oh well. And now it's just another shield, another 12 hits, another 2 turns wasted, which means that we're not actually going to do damage until we get to the final nuke turn. So let's cut to that turn. Okay, so here we are. So we have, 4 ults, so we can still buff, right? We have points, so we'll bring Benimaru in. We'll use his 60-point buff now for the hero and Milim, and then we'll bring Shizu in, and now we have 3 ults. We can use the debuff from the hero, because we held on to it from the last time, and Frey gives us the full hand of greens, 55 points, which means we have just enough to use the Milim crit damage again, and then we send this. We had to break the shield, so we skipped 2 turns. 68,000 is shit, 92,000 is shit, and 448 is not as much as I was hoping for, but it's not an EX ult. So we end the fight doing 1.8 million damage. It's not great, but if it's what you have to use, it is what you have to use. So there's the score breakdown. It's still an S rank, which is nice. It's just not 400-something thousand points. So let's move on. All right, we're moving directly into the sad teams. We are able to stun Guy, and that will prevent him from putting up a shield and binding us. So we're going to bring our own Guy and stun his ass. It's just that we do need some points. So this is not a very high damaging team, right? Veldora with the magic buff, Orb Changer Sufia, Water Xion to help Water Hinata do damage, Guy for the stun, Isis for the orb change. We only have 2 converters on this team. So you're not going to get super high numbers, but you can at least attempt to avoid the stupidity of the shield and bind scenarios. Turn 1, we are again running the skill point units in the support slot so we can use both the Isis skills turn 1. This will help get us a lot of points and a stack of Veldora and some gauge. More importantly, though, the points, because you do want to keep him stunned. Unfortunately, he puts up his physical or his pierce and synergy resistance, and his magic resistance just is the start of fight. So there's nothing much you can do about that. But here, since Veldora does skill reset, where we are able to use a number of things, but we do want to start stunning very early. I don't want to give him any more options to do anything else to us. So we orb change, the green buff is already active, and now we stun. And now we keep him stunned for the entirety of the fight. So 145 points right there, looks pretty good. And now he can't do anything. And he hopefully won't be able to do anything for the rest of the fight. Depending on how your luck goes and how many orb changes you need, you might have to reset, because if you get 3 blues or you get 3 oranges, it doesn't look great. I really wish I had a special converter here, but I just don't. So Sufia's orb change, boom. Alright, the green buff is still active, so we'll use Veldora to reset Isis, and Guy for the stun. That's the most important thing, especially on this turn, because normally he would put a shield up here at the end of it. But now Shion comes in, we'll send all these orbs, and we're just going to kind of just chip damage him. We're not looking to do big time damage with Hinata. We're looking to do pretty shit damage with this team, but at least you don't have to bang your head against a wall. It's fairly easy to run as long as you get semi-decent RNG. Like right here, we could have orb changed into a full hand of greens plus the 2 alts. We could have. I don't really feel like it though, because it's a free hand where we don't really have to do anything except stun. So we'll save the points and we'll just reset and then stun. And I guess we can use the Hinata stacks. If she's not skill fused, it's 5% alt damage every single time you use it, up to a cap of 60. And if she is skill fused, it's 15% up to 60. So it just stacks much faster. And she is skill fused for me, so we are doing it at a much faster rate. And then we get a natural hand of greens, which is the second time I've had that happen during this Jubilee, and I am afraid for my life now. But, yeah, stun him again. Get some points back, don't have to do anything. And now we're going into turn 5, and he still hasn't put a shield up, hasn't binded us, but we've also only done 191,000 damage. So, you tell me if it was really worth it or not. Oh, man. Okay, Hinata, or not Hinata, but Shion's got an ult in the back. I think we're just going to hold on to that until the nuke turn, or somewhere close to it. We don't have to nuke on turn 8, because we are now capped out with Veldora at 70%. As long as we have the points to use both the Shion skills, I mean, that's as much power as we're going to get out of this team. So I might actually think nuke here instead. I have 194 points. We definitely have enough. We've got a double Veldora. So we'll orb change. Cool. If we swap Sufia out, we'll take that orb away, so we don't have to do anything else here. And then we'll bring Shion in for Isis. That gives us a full hand of greens. We can use Veldora, or we're going to use the buff. And then once we use Veldora, we can stun. It will reset and then stun. And I guess we'll do it again, because I think we had to use Guy twice in a row without resetting him. So now it's back down to 25 points. So we'll go ahead and, again, stun him. I don't know what happens if you let him out of his stun. Like, I don't know if he puts his shield up after the fact, or we just skip that turn. I don't actually know, and I don't want to know. 261k is okay damage. It's double what we've done the entire fight. And now we're up to 734. And we have a hand that looks like this, which is okay. We do have the orbs, though. So convert, and then we'll bring Sufia out for Isis, and we'll use her final convert and the attack buff from Hinata just for funsy onesies, and we'll send this final hand of greens, and whatever damage we get is what we get. It's 5,900. Whew. Breaking the bank right there. We didn't have the magic buff, though, from Veldora, I don't think. So we didn't get another 70% magic attack. But if you're using this, you're already kind of crying in the corner. So 764,000 damage, 57k total points. It is still an S rank. I'm sorry if you have to use it, but it's an option for you. Alright, and the final team I have for you is once again a Water Chloe team. This time we're going to bring Geld, Isis, and Alice, Water Shion, and Hinata. So we don't really care who's physical or magic. Hinata can get the at least... Well, she can get all of her buffs active. The Alice, though, he has pierce resistance. So the only thing that she is doing is being another blue orb changer and a water physical character who will at least get the alt buff and the crit from... and the water buff from Shion. So she's like a sub DPS character, but for the love of God, please do not use her pierce skill. You'll nerf your own damage into the ground, and it's just not worth it. Alright, so turn 1, once again, using the skill point units, use both skills for Isis turn 1. That gets us nice and started. We'll bring Shion in, we'll bring Hinata in, we'll leave Alice up front. We'll send her last because she is water physical, so she will do more damage than Hinata and Shion, for now at least. Once we get the crit buff and the attack buff for Hinata and everything, she'll do more normal orb damage, but we gotta get to that point first. So let's orb change with Alice. We could put a stack of the alt buff from Hinata on, and then we just use Chloe to convert all these orbs. Eventually? I must have been distracted. Yep, there we go. Alright, so Chloe kicks in, and now the green buff is still active. We don't need to do anything else. I believe we've used a stack of Geld to give weakness resistance down, which does help all three of these characters do slightly more damage over time. And because we have two different blue orb changers, we're not really in danger of really bad hands. Like, it could still happen. If you somehow get 5 blues, then you're kind of fucked. But we also have Geld, just in case he gets an orb. He can at least convert his own, if it comes to that, which hopefully it doesn't have to. But Isis convert, it's, I think, cheaper than... Yeah, it is 5 points cheaper than Alice, because she's 30 points. I don't know why, she's just very old. But the barrier's up. So not much we can do about that except send orbs, because there's no way around it. And I don't want to hold on to these alts and send less orbs, because that kind of doesn't help us. However, I believe in this fight, I do make some misplays, and I don't actually break the shield when I should. I think it's the next shield, the second one, where I don't send full hands of everything, and it's kind of unfortunate and kind of an idiotic move that I decided to leave this clip in. I just didn't want to do another run of this, so just know that we make a misplay further in here. We'll use another stack of the Hinata buff, which is just permanent alt damage for, I believe, everybody? Or it's just her. I think it's everybody. But now the barrier's gone. Excellent, it is everybody. Well, can't really tell off of that icon. Alright, so the guy alt we're just going to let happen, probably because I'm not paying attention again. Alright, now it's broken. Natural Hand of Greens, that's the 3rd time now, so definitely cannot go outside. So here, we just use, I think, another stack of Geld, and then another stack of Hinata, and call it a day. I think we might even full buff here. Yeah, we do. Alright, so both Shion buffs, Hinata's buff. Again, do not want to use the Alice buff unless you really feel like doing less damage than what you actually should. 78k, 246k, 127k, and then, yeah, Alice does, what, 17,000 a hit, but then Hinata's doing quite a bit more than that. The burn comes on, the shield is up, and maybe I don't fuck up here. Maybe I don't fuck up. Well, it might be the next turn. We still have to do 6 more hits after this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, I think what I do is I just send 4 greens here, and I hold the ults, or something like that. I probably take Hinata out. Okay, so what do I do here? Okay, so we have a blue orb there. Geld comes in for Alice. And then Isis comes in for Hinata. Right? Yep. So there's another alt buff. That's the last stack we need because my Hinata is skill fused. Orb change. And then, okay, so now I guess we're fine. Alright, I must have done it in a previous clip, and I then did decide to record this again. Who knows? Alright, 1 hit, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now the barrier's done. I don't think I have enough points to use the full buff, though, and this hand is just god-awful. It's like we're playing a different normal battle stage for Jubilee. But Hinata comes in for, well, Geld or Isis, doesn't really matter, as long as it's not Shion, because we kind of need her buffs. But we have 177, which is not enough points to use another stack, or another skill for Hinata's personal buff. So our damage is a bit nerfed here, 150, 167, so we could have gotten over 1,000,000 had we had enough points to use Hinata's personal buff. Kind of unfortunate, but if you have to use this, then you could just shoot for it yourself. But there we go. 4 teams to take on Boss Battle 2. Again, if you don't have the meta, I'm really sorry. If you have other team comps that you found that works, please put it down in the comments below. But that's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.